How dangerous is this as a turning point in the Middle East, the possibility of bringing in the likes of Iran into a broader conflict?
Yeah, well, I think a series of leaders and foreign ministers at the UN this week, whether it be on any side, the United States and Iran, Lebanon, Israel, Iran, they've all said effectively that we're on a precipice. And they're all saying we're at a serious risk of going into a full-blown regional conflict. Right now, we are able to distinguish, and we should distinguish, that Israel is fighting against and responding to terrorist attacks from both Hamas and Hezbollah more recently, of course. The risk is that the attacks continue, and Iran, who is controlling things behind the scenes through sponsorship and funding of the terrorist organisations, gets involved more directly. That would, of course, then more likely bring in the United States, and we would be in for a full-on regional war.
It's a very different scenario when you're dealing with Hezbollah versus Hamas. When in Lebanon, of course, a bigger country, not a huge country, but much bigger, and cohorts like the Lebanese Christians, which have been up to 50% of the population, down to, I think, about a quarter of the population, but a group with no love at all for Hezbollah.
Kieran, I think it's a devastating situation for Lebanon. The question, though, is whether we are actually dealing with a failed state or a state that is failing, Kieran. We have, in Lebanon, we've got a state within a state. Hezbollah is in such control of so many areas within Lebanon that even the Lebanese Prime Minister and Foreign Minister say they can't control Hezbollah. So in that situation, we've really got to ask the question of what situation are we in when we've got a terrorist organisation that Australia prescribes, not just others around the world, but Australia prescribes, in such control and sending rockets across the border. As you say, we are dealing with even a different situation to the other prescribed terrorist organisation, Hamas, because Hezbollah has huge weaponry, sophisticated weapons, long-range ballistic missiles that they have now used against Israel. So we're dealing with a very capable force. That's why we need to, in my view, support Israel's determination to regain the stability, which is to push back Lebanon. What's happened in recent times is that, to push back Hezbollah, because Hezbollah's attacks has forced a number of Israeli citizens to evacuate from Israeli territory. We need to be in a position where we can safely see those Israeli citizens back into their own homeland.
Finally, does the US have any influence right now?
Yes, the US...
on Israel, particularly?
The US has as much influence as anyone. I think the reality is that the US does not control Prime Minister Netanyahu. But in terms of influence, yes. And it's across the region, Kieran. So not only can the US seek to influence Israel's actions to make sure they only take what is proportionate to the attacks they face, but also we see in the extent of the military assets that the US has in the region. Aircraft carriers, at times too, you've got a series of planes, you've got such assets there that is actually helping to deter Iran from escalating the tensions.
ASPI Executive Director Justin Bassi, great to get your insights as always. Thanks.
Thanks, Kieran.